Have you ever stopped to think about why certain things completely infuriate you while other people, in the same situation, remain calm? Why did that seemingly harmless comment make you explode? Why did you lose your temper in traffic again, knowing that this happens every day? Why did someone's silence gnaw at you from the inside to the point of ruining your entire day? The answer may be hidden in a place you never imagined to look. And the most intriguing thing, this irritation that seems to come from the outside world, from inconvenient people, from unfair circumstances, is actually revealing something much deeper about yourself. Here's the uncomfortable truth that few dare to face. Your irritation isn't about what happened. It's about what's happening inside you. Every outburst, every disproportionate reaction, every moment you lose your temper is showing, like an emotional X-ray, exactly where you still carry unhealed wounds, unconfronted fears, and yes, unacknowledged insecurities. And before you close this thinking I'm going to judge you or make you feel worse, let me tell you something. Recognizing this isn't admitting weakness. It's actually the first step towards gaining a kind of strength that most people will never experience. In this content, you will discover which specific insecurity is fueling your constant irritations. You will understand why some situations destabilize you while others don't. And most importantly, you will learn exactly what to do to develop that inner balance that ensures nothing, absolutely nothing, can throw you off balance. Prepare to look in the mirror differently, because what you will discover here can completely change how you react to the world and, especially, how you relate to yourself. 1. Irritation stems from the desire for control. Let's get straight to the point. You get irritated because you're trying to control something that never was, and never will be, under your control. And before you say, "But I'm not a control freak," hold on a minute. The control I'm talking about here isn't the obvious kind, like the authoritarian boss or the overprotective parent. It's the subtle kind, disguised as reasonable expectations, common sense. Just do it the right way. Every time you think, that person should act like this, the traffic shouldn't be congested right now, so-and-so should have answered me faster. You're trying to control. And when reality dares not follow this mental script you created, irritation appears like an alarm saying, "Hey, things aren't going as planned." But here's the problem. The world didn't read your plan. People didn't sign your mental contract. And the more you insist on making everything revolve around your uncommunicated expectations, the more you hurt yourself. It's like trying to push a wall. The wall doesn't move, but you end up with sore shoulders and wounded pride. And the worst part? You blame the wall. Insecurity seeps into this desire for control in an almost imperceptible way. When you don't fully trust your ability to handle the unexpected, when you don't feel safe in the face of life's unpredictability, you start trying to control everything around you as a way to protect yourself. It's a desperate attempt to create a bubble of predictability where you will finally feel safe. But does it work? Of course not. Because life is, by nature, chaotic and unpredictable. And trying to control external chaos is like trying to hold water with a sieve. The more you squeeze, the more escapes. Think about it. That time you explained something 3 times and the person still didn't understand. Why did that irritate you so much? Because you expected that, after the 3rd explanation, they should understand. You were trying to control their capacity for comprehension. But what if they simply didn't have the mental resources at that moment? What if they were distracted, tired, or genuinely lacked the necessary basic knowledge? None of that is under your control, and that's where the burnout lies. So how do you get out of this trap? The first step is brutally honest. Accept that you control nothing but yourself. You don't control the traffic, you don't control whether people will understand you, you don't control whether they will value or respect you. The only territory where you have absolute sovereignty is your own mind. And that's not a limitation, it's liberation. Because when you stop wasting energy trying to change what cannot be changed, you have an absurd amount of strength left to work on what really matters. Your reactions, your choices, your self-knowledge. Start small. The next time something doesn't go as planned, pause before reacting. Take a deep breath and ask, is this under my control? If the answer is no, redirect your energy. Instead of getting irritated by the slow line, use that time to listen to a podcast. Instead of getting frustrated with those who didn't understand you, improve your communication or simply accept that some people will never understand. and that's okay. This redirection of focus is revolutionary. It's the difference between living as a hostage to circumstances and living as the architect of one's own peace. 2. The world hits you where you don't yet know yourself. Now let's talk about something that might hurt, but that has the power to completely set you free. The world doesn't hurt you randomly. It hits you with surgical precision exactly where you still have open wounds, unrecognized vulnerabilities, areas of your personality that you've never really stopped to examine. Think about it. Why does criticism of your work bring you down for days, but the same criticism made to a colleague doesn't affect them for even 5 minutes? Why does an interruption in the middle of your speech make you furious, while another person simply resumes their train of thought afterward? Why does the silence of a specific person corrode you, but the silence of dozens of other people makes no difference at all? The difference isn't in the external event. It's in the internal resonance it provokes. It's like a tuning fork. It only vibrates when it finds a frequency that matches its own. Your irritations are emotional tuning forks revealing exactly where you still need to work. And ignoring this is like turning off the fire alarm thinking you've solved the fire problem. Irritation acts as a messenger. It's not saying the world is unfair, although sometimes it is. It's saying, hey, there's something inside me that needs your attention. When someone questions your competence and you explode, the real problem isn't the other person's doubt about you. It's the self-doubt you harbor about your own competence. When someone interrupts you and you feel disrespected, perhaps the issue isn't just the other person's rudeness. Perhaps it's the deep fear you have of not being heard, of not having a voice, of not matching. These are the layers hidden beneath superficial irritation. And true self-knowledge begins when you have the courage to descend to these layers and ask, what is this revealing about me? What fear is being activated? What unmet need is screaming for attention? This internal investigation is uncomfortable. Nobody likes to discover they carry deep insecurities. But it's also profoundly liberating. Because when you know your vulnerabilities, they stop controlling you. And you know what happens when you truly know yourself? You become much less likely to be unbalanced. Not because you've become a cold and insensitive person, but because you understand your triggers. You know exactly where your vulnerability line is and you can consciously protect it. Someone criticizes your work, you evaluate whether the criticism is constructive or just projection. If it's constructive, you use it to grow. If it's projection, you simply let it go. Someone interrupts you, you choose whether it really matters or if it's just your ego demanding attention. This capacity for conscious choice, this freedom to decide how to react instead of just reacting, is what separates those who live on autopilot from those who live with intention. And to get there, you need to do the inner work that most people avoid. You need to look in the mirror without filters. You need to admit where you are still fragile. You need to recognize that yes, you carry fears, traumas, unmet needs. And that's okay, because recognizing is not being stuck. Recognizing is the first step to transformation. And when you transform your vulnerabilities into strengths through self-knowledge, you achieve something that no one can take away from you. True inner balance. 3. You're bothered because you expect too much from others. Here's a truth that will shake you. Most of your irritation doesn't come from what people do or don't do. It comes from the unspoken expectations you've created, expectations they don't even know exist. It's as if you wrote a detailed contract about how people should behave, but forgot to give a copy to those involved. Then you expect them to act with the same consideration you offer. You expect them to understand your feelings without you having to verbalize them. You expect them to respond to your messages in the time you deem appropriate. You expect them to show gratitude, respect, reciprocity, all based on your personal manual of human behavior. And when reality completely ignores this manual that only exists in your head, you feel betrayed, disrespected, undervalued. But wait a minute. Is it fair to demand something from someone that they didn't even know was expected? Is the problem in the other person's behavior or in the uncommunicated expectation you unilaterally created? Insecurity plays a huge role in this game of expectations. When you don't feel completely secure in your worth, you start measuring that worth by the actions of others. If someone responds quickly, you feel important. If they take a long time, you feel ignored. If someone compliments you, you feel competent. If they don't compliment you, you think you've failed. If someone reaches out to you, you feel loved. If they don't reach out, you feel forgotten. Do you see the dangerous pattern? You are outsourcing your inner peace. You are handing over control of your happiness to people who don't even know they have that power over you. And the result is a devastating emotional roller coaster. You live according to the reactions of others, always expecting, always wanting, always disappointed. Because people will never be able to meet all your expectations. Not because they are bad or selfish, but simply because they have their own lives, their own limitations, their own problems. And no, they can't guess what's going on in your head. Nor should they have to guess. So, how do you break this cycle of frustrated expectations? First, communicate. If you expect something from someone, say it clearly. Don't assume the person should know. Don't expect them to read your mind. Be direct, specific, and straightforward. Second, adjust your expectations to reality. Not everyone will act like you. Not everyone has the same upbringing, the same values, the same emotional capacity. And that's okay. Accepting this isn't about lowering your standards. It's about stopping hurting yourself by expecting people to be who they aren't. And third, perhaps most importantly, build your peace independently. Offer your consideration, your respect, your affection not because you expect to receive it back in the same measure, but because it reflects who you've chosen to be. When you do this, something extraordinary happens. You stop silently demanding things. You stop constantly getting frustrated. You stop getting irritated by every behavior that doesn't match your mental script. Because your peace is no longer conditioned by the behavior of others. It's anchored in you, in your choices, in your values. And that radical acceptance of people as they are is true relational freedom. It's when you finally understand that you can only control one thing, who you are, regardless of who others choose to be. For peace comes when you become unshakable. We've reached the point where everything changes. Do you know where most people look for peace? In the wrong place. They believe they'll find tranquility when everything finally falls perfectly into place. When people stop disappointing them. When their boss recognizes their work. When their partner understands without needing explanations. When the traffic flows smoothly. When the world finally cooperates. But here's the brutal truth. If you're waiting for the world to calm down before you feel at peace, you'll be waiting your whole life. Because the world won't calm down. People will continue to fail. Circumstances will continue to slip out of your control. Unexpected events will continue to happen. And if your peace depends on everything going right, you will never, never, ever have peace. True peace isn't born when external chaos disappears. It's born when you develop a center so solid, so firm, so well established within yourself that nothing external can shake it. And that, believe me, is entirely possible. Insecurity pushes us toward this misguided search for peace in external circumstances. Because when you don't trust your ability to cope with adversity, when you don't believe you can remain whole in the face of chaos, you start trying to control everything around you to create a false sense of security. It's like building a house of cards and praying that the wind never blows. But life is made of winds, storms even, and trying to avoid them is impossible. What you can do, and this changes everything, is build an internal structure so solid that when the wind comes, you remain standing. Not because you are strong in a physical sense, but because you are unshakable in an emotional and mental sense. You understand that the storm doesn't define you. Your reactions to it do. And when you reach this level of inner balance, something extraordinary happens. You stop being afraid. You stop getting irritated so often. You stop depending on external harmony to feel good. Because you finally understood that peace is not the absence of problems. It is the presence of self-control in the face of problems. How do you build this unshakable center? Start by practicing radical acceptance. Accepting doesn't mean liking or agreeing. It means stopping fighting what you can't change and starting to focus on what you can. When something bad happens, instead of spending your energy denying, complaining, or lamenting, you acknowledge, this happened. I don't like it, but it's real. Now, what am I going to do from here? This change in attitude is liberating. Second, train your reactions. Every time something irritates you, pause. Create a space between the stimulus and the reaction. Breathe deeply. Ask yourself, does this really matter? In a year, will this still be relevant? Is it worth losing my peace over this? This pause is where freedom resides. And third, redefine what it means to be successful in life. Don't measure your life by the absence of problems. Measure it by your ability to deal with them, because problems will always exist. But you can choose to be bigger than them. You can choose not to be a hostage to circumstances. And when you make that choice repeatedly, day after day, situation after situation, you build something precious. An inner peace that no one, absolutely no one, can take away from you. And that's what it means to be truly unshakable. It's when you finally understand that you don't need a perfect world to live in peace. You just need a strong center and the courage to return to it whenever life tries to lead you astray. And there you have it. Now you know. Your irritation isn't about the chaotic traffic, the rude person, or the unfair world. It's about the unconscious desire to control the uncontrollable. It's about the inner wounds you haven't yet healed. It's about the silent expectations you created and then were frustrated when they weren't met. It's about seeking peace in the wrong place, in perfect external circumstances that will never exist. But now that you know this, the question remains, what will you do with this knowledge? Will you continue blaming the world for irritating you? Will you continue reacting on autopilot, losing your temper over the same things, living on this emotional roller coaster that leaves you exhausted at the end of the day? Or will you have the courage to look inward, acknowledge your insecurities, work on your self-awareness, adjust your expectations, and build that unshakable center that no one can destroy? Which of the 4 truths we discussed today resonated with you the most? Where are you failing? What do you urgently need to change? Transformation doesn't happen overnight, but it begins with a decision. The decision to stop outsourcing your peace, to take responsibility for your reactions, to do the inner work that most people avoid. And each small step in that direction brings you closer to a version of yourself that isn't easily shaken, that doesn't get irritated by anything, that lives with balance, freedom, and ultimately true inner peace. If this content helped you see something you didn't see before, if you felt these words spoke directly to you, subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications. Here you will find more practical, real, and transformative content on how to apply Stoic philosophy to your daily life. It's not abstract theory. It's practical wisdom for you to use today, right now, at this very moment. Your journey to becoming unshakable begins here, and you deserve this peace.